Hi, dumelang batho ba bantle. Welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to chat to you guys again. Ke hope wahamakola, and today I just want to share with you. Look, I think because I've dealt with it, it's really more of a topic that I would hope to just give advice and caution anybody who got married young and in a cult. So I'll get started and let's get into it. So I'm gonna start right at the beginning. I met my currently now late husband. That's going to be another video for another day. At the age of 19, we met in the Message cult of William Branham, and we were both born in the Message. So we met at a mutual friend's wedding, his friend's wedding. I was friends with the bride, but not for too long. She had just come to our assembly in Mamelodi. I will mention areas because that helps to give perspective, and those of you that know me will also connect the dots. Fast forward, we met at the wedding. Well, it was the wedding rehearsals, and we normally like paired up into like partners, if you want to call it. And I remember telling a friend of mine at the time, without even having met or spoken to who was going to later on be my husband, and I remember saying to her, "Oh, I hope I get paired up to be his partner. You know, I just can feel it. He's mine." Anyway, fast forward, we get paired up, and he actually is paired up with me. And me and him really liked to goof around like a lot, to say that it was like love at first sight or like at first sight. And then we went on later to find out that we both go to Wits at the time, and Wits University. For anybody in South Africa will obviously know that university, but for my international viewers, you can Google it. And we're both doing our first year there, and so I walked up to him at the food court, and I'm like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you stalking me?" kind of thing. He's like, "No, I come to Wits." And I'm like, "I also come to Wits." This was after a good month or so that we had never spoken or seen each other. But just fast forwarding to everything else, we then linked up. Guys, a whole lot has obviously happened in between all of this linking up and what have you. But I think I want to get to the crux of the matter of why I'm doing this video, of how I was married young in a cult. And I'm not going to take away from my late husband at all. I still believe till today it was meant to be, things were meant to be the way they went between me and him, obviously, and how our connection was. But basically what I want to share is like the difficulties we faced, obviously leading up to the preparation of our marriage, and then as well being married. And the difficulties we faced as a young couple who got married in a cult. And so just to run through it all, we then link up. They would basically then kind of negotiate, very much similar to arranged marriages, you know. They would then negotiate the terms, or negotiate you getting married, you know how it happens. He was in a different assembly or a different a branch of the Message Church. He used to, which was based in Elandsfontein, still is based in Elandsfontein. And so basically I was born and raised, and I was going to a branch in Mamelodi. And we then somehow on campus were like, okay, cool. We started chatting, exchanged numbers. And he said to me, "Look, I really dig you. I really like you." And I obviously said feelings mutual. By the way, in certain different branches of the Message, or let me maybe put it in Africa, most of the African churches don't believe in courtship. They basically believe in just the whole Eliezer story, Eliezer and Rebecca in the Bible, basically where you don't get to really even conversate or get to know your partner. So in the particular branch that I was in, I can only speak about that because that's what my experience and what I know to be true. The particular branch that I used to fellowship at in Mamelodi, they would send elders, which would be or called the deacons. The deacons would come to your house, the female's house, obviously, and they would say, look, a certain brother has found interest in you. Obviously, this brother would also have to go to them, to the deacons, with their family. And then, okay, so they would basically like then negotiate on your behalf. So basically they tell your family, or they meet with your father and your mother and say, look, would it be possible if we obviously can bring the two parties together in marriage? So you guys don't even get to speak per se initially. That's how I know it would have gone down if I picked a guy from Mamelodi to also marry me, which is very, very one-sided. I mean, it's very like legalistic and very one-sided in its approach. I mean, there's even been stories whereby, let's say, one of the deacons has a daughter or a son, and they actually are saving their daughter and son for a specific sister or brother, and then that person gets approached. That deacon who's got his daughter or son's interest at heart won't even like represent your case well, or will even say, no, Hope is not a good lady to want to get married to. Let's say, for instance, a certain brother wanted to get married to me. Hope is not really a good lady to want to get married to because, I mean, like, yeah, they'll make up stuff about you or just basically paint you in an ugly way so that I guess the guy gets disinterested. In my case, because my late hubby came from a different branch, Elandsfontein, where they do practice courtship, obviously in a very also highly regulated environment. So he then asked me, look, I really like you, but then how are we going to, be in courtship? How do they do it in Mamelodi? I then went ahead to obviously say to him, look, in Mamelodi, there is no courtship. And a lot of the youth at the time was like having like, I don't know, underground relationships, if you want to call it. So that they can kind of like at least get to know the person that they might potentially get married to, which obviously does not create a great foundation either, because like there's room for a lot of things going wrong. Like, for instance, you would be dating somebody underground, and then 2-3 months later this person stands up in church and they're getting married to somebody totally different, and you're like oh, like, hang on, what's going on here? Like, I thought we are like, I kid you not, guys. I thought like we were together or something. Anyway, needless to say, fast forward, then my late husband is like, okay, fine. Now that I know like how things are supposed to be done, all I know is ngiyazifela ngawe, meaning I really, really dig you. And we arranged to obviously his family to meet my family and find out how we can address this going forward. And that's what we did. The best advice and whatever that were given by our parents, mostly from my side, obviously the pressure came because we couldn't be in courtship. So they went to the pastor of Mamelodi. Everybody knows, you all know who that is. And they, well, not everybody, some of the people watching this video would know who that is. He's still currently I nearly said president. He's still currently the pastor. My late husband's father and the pastor in Mamelodi are very good friends. They went way back. So they arranged the meeting to meet together, and he basically told him and said, look, my son has found a liking in one of the sisters or the ladies that go to your church. The Ratloho girl, I'm the only, Ratloho girl, like I've got 2 brothers, but like, yeah, Anyway, I'm the only girl in my family, that's what I mean. So he was like, oh, okay, this is the pastor. Like, oh, no, I also know the family well. And guys, like, another thing as well, I'm sure you've heard me mention in my other videos, is that my dad is even currently an elder at the church in Mamelodi. He's one of the elders there as well. So what was then spoken about was, sorry, there is no courtship in Mamelodi. There's no ways. They just have to get married. The information comes back to us, and my late husband, and myself then at the time, we're like, what? Get married? We are first year in varsity. We're only 19. How do we just get married? I really like you, and I'd really love to get to know you better, but like marriage? So in a way, we were kind of like, we had no choice. We were forced into a very early engagement or marriage situation. And that's what happened. So in 3 months, guys, in the record of 3 months, he basically proposed, and we were then at the time the first young 19-year-old couple to actually have an engagement ceremony in front of the whole congregation. And he basically proposed to me in front of the whole church on a Sunday morning, like a congregation of like, I don't know, 300, 400 plus. We were both obviously hella nervous. We did not even we were never ready. So after 3 months, he proposed, and then we were engaged for a year, and then we got married on the 12th of June, 2006. So needless to say, it was a roller coaster ride of note. I was never ready. Now, what happens in a cult or in the message, I don't know if that's what happens at most branches, but I later on in the years found out that the branch in Elandsfontein that my late husband went to, they do give marriage counseling, but really from a very one-sided way, and from a way that William Branham, their prophet, who they would give it based on that. Or most of the African message believing churches, they wouldn't have marriage counseling at all, guys. You don't have premarital counseling. You don't have after-marital whatever counseling. You're basically on your own. And for me, another thing, let me just go back to the whole we're getting engaged and married. It really felt, from my side especially, because my late husband's side was, they tried by all means, especially like my father-in-law at the time. He really just wanted us to finish our degrees and get our education, which I fully, that's what I wanted to do. You know, I'm still dealing with childhood traumas to address those kind of things. But our voices were silenced. What we wanted to do was not heard. What we knew is we really wanted to be together, and we would have eventually gotten married, but it would have just not been at the time we got married, you know. So fast forward to then, a lot of the pressure and a lot of the negative controlling ways came from the Mamelodi side. A lot of the talks were also, these boys are coming from other assemblies to steal our girls in Mamelodi. I mean, really, who steals a girl? Who steals a woman without, and I don't understand that whole philosophy as well. I mean, at the time, we all believed in this message. We're all under this message umbrella together. Why is it such a crime if a guy from Elandsfontein comes and marries a girl from Mamelodi, or a girl from Mamelodi goes and marries a guy from Soweto? It's petty stuff, guys. It's very carnal stuff. It's very non-biblical, very legalistic. People come up with their own rules in a cult, and they make it the alpha and omega, as if this is what God's decree and law is on marriage. So we then obviously had to go through the most. You know, I'm just going to highlight snippets of things that really stood out and things that I would advise any girl or young lady right now who is about to get married in the message. Even same thing with a young man who's about to do it. I personally have family members and family friends who are currently in a divorced marriage. They got married really young, and their marriages would only last for like 2-3 years if you're lucky, or 4 years, and they would like divorce their partners that they were married with in the message and go for what they would call a worldly partner. Affairs creep into the marriage, like a lot of things, I believe, based purely from, number one, being forced into a marriage to somebody that initially maybe you wouldn't have been vibing with, and maybe you grow to vibe with, but not somebody you would have picked out of your own doing. In my case, that wasn't the case. We kind of like in the beginning were lucky that we kind of like, how can I put it? We liked each other for who we were as individuals. So the message would have been like a bonus, you know, but that is a very important point to hold on to, because later on in our marriage, it is very key and important that at least even when the cult of William Branham failed us in our marriage, we could at least still connect as individuals based on our characters, based on our likes and our dislikes and all those things, which are things that are shunned in a cult. You are not allowed to even find out what he likes or what you like. You basically are getting married to a stranger. In most of these situations, you're getting married to a stranger. My late hubby was also similar to a stranger. We had only known each other for like 4 or 5 months, and we're basically in engagement, you know, which we would have done after we had gotten our degrees and were more mature emotionally, physically and spiritually to handle a marriage. Guys, marriage is not easy. Trust and believe that marriage is going to put you through the ringers. Marriage is going to expose all those things that you have not worked on as an individual on your own. And if you come into marriage as a broken half and not a complete whole person, your marriage is not going to survive. The chances of your marriage surviving would basically either be you're staying in it for the cult, you're staying in it for your parents, you care more about what people say than you actually walking away and doing the right thing for yourself. So we then got married. In leading up to the marriage, guys, the marriage arrangements, oh my soul. So we drew up a wedding program, okay? And myself and my late husband, that is, we drew up our own. It's our wedding. It's not Mami Lodi's wedding. It's not Ilansfontein's wedding. It was my wedding with my late husband. And I just feel like, why must we even ask permission about certain things that we want to do in our own wedding program? So we wrote about, it was a page long wedding program, and those of you that know my late husband personally know very well that he was all about wanting to unify all the message churches locally in South Africa and their pastors. So in our program, by the way, before it came back with red lines through from Mami Lodi and crossing out things, no, you can't do this, no, you can do this, no, you can't do this. Basically, he wanted, on our wedding program, he wanted different ministers or pastors of different message assemblies to take part in it. So it was kind of like going to be a reunion as well. And oh, God bless his soul, and may his soul rest in peace. He was such an amazing, amazing young man in a really, he had a really old soul about him and a lot of wisdom, and he basically had written like the opening prayer would be a certain minister from a different message assembly, and then the welcoming would be from another minister, and then the sermon would have been we had requested for the sermon to be split like in half and half, like the officiation to be done by his pastor in Ilansfontein, and then for the marriage preaching and the ceremony to be done by my pastor at the time in Mami Lodi. Guys, everything came back no. mostly from Mamelodi's side, it was Red Crosses. They were not willing to even share the pulpit or share the sermon and the officiation. So the Mamelodi pastor did everything, and the only thing that the pastor from Elandsfontein did was to just we sign our marriage certificate or marriage registration, if you want to call it. So that's all he did, which for a very long time was something very, very, that my late husband found so sad, because he would have liked his pastor as well to play more of a significant role as well. And I fully agree with him, you know. Sure, we later on then got married and we did this thing, and I promise you it was not easy in a cult, the things we faced in our marriage. But I just want to conclude this part of the video by saying that I have no regrets in marrying the certain individual that I did. All right, please guys, keep on subscribing to my channel. Okay, I love you all.